Could Giovanni defeat all the leaders of each villain team from their respective generation? Today we are going to find out. As many of you probably already know, this video is part of a series of Pokemon challenges, where I put myself in the shoes of the most iconic Pokemon characters and engage in a series of unique battles. In this case, I'll step into the shoes of Giovanni and we'll see if he can defeat all the antagonists from each generation. In this case, Giovanni's team will consist of Dugtrio, Nidoking, Nidoqueen, Rhyperior, and Mewtwo. And the latter comes with a surprise, the Mutwoonite X. Okay, I know what you might be thinking. That beast is too overpowered. I just say don't jump to conclusions. This challenge has many more surprises. I remind you that this is the third of the new challenges belonging to the new Fangame Pokemon challenges that I am creating exclusively with RPG Maker. As I already mentioned, before long, we will have a downloadable game with these challenges and some more so that you can play them yourself. So don't forget to subscribe to the channel and like the video if you are excited to play the game. And if you want to watch any of my previous challenges, you can watch them using the link in the description where you'll find the playlist with all of the challenges. For those who are not familiar with this type of videos, you should know a series of rules that I follow in these challenges. You can only use the same number of Pokemon as the rival trainer. I will have one life during the challenge. That life will be consumed upon losing a battle, and it will allow me to try to win that battle again. However, it is a single life for the whole challenge, not for each battle separately, so I can only lose one battle. And there's an extra rule that you have to follow. If you like this type of videos and want more challenges like this, you have to leave a huge like and subscribe. One last detail before starting, and that is I want to give a special thanks for the support to those who have joined as members to the channel. Thanks to you, I am closer to being able to dedicate myself to this full time. Thank you so much. With that said, let's get started. The first villain I faced was none other than Archie, who started the battle by sending out his Mightyena. I thought I had things under control, so I brought out my Dugtrio with the idea of throwing some rocks here, a sandstorm there. You know the dirty playstyle that I love so much? Well, that son of a gun had a nasty Ice Fang. My Dugtrio fell, and Archie was making it clear that this was not going to be an easy battle. After this, I got serious and sent out Nidoking thinking it had Megahorn. It didn't, so that Nidoking sacrificed almost all its life in vain. It managed to take down Mightyena, but was left almost useless. His second Pokemon was Camerupt, who we welcomed with my Nidoqueen using Surf. But to our misfortune, this happened. Yes, it survives with 1 GP and faints my Nidoqueen with a single Earthquake. Fortunately, my dying Nidoking came out to defend and finished off that Camerupt without a problem. Archie now sent out Crobat, so I brought out my Rhyperior, who would feint it with a simple Stone Edge, but not before getting poisoned. Damn Zubats and their evolutions. His fourth Pokemon was Weezing, who stood no chance against my Mega Mewtwo X, who ended it with a single Zen Headbutt. We reached the final stretch. His last Pokemon was a damn Groudon. I used Zen Headbutt again, Mewtwo's most powerful move, but it didn't even take a third of its life. Groudon used Earthquake, and Mewtwo was left with half its life. We were screwed, but then the light bulb went on, for the first time in my life, and suddenly I decided to use Drain Punch, stealing enough life to withstand one more turn and be able to finish off that Groudon. The next rival was, of course, Maxie, who welcomed me just like Archie did with a Mightyena. And as if it was a deja vu, after setting up Stealth Rocks and fortunately a Sandstorm, Dugtrio was left fainted. I sent out Rhyperior to now land a Megahorn, but Maxie ended up switching Pokemon, and the one who took the Megahorn attack was his Crobat, who after a Thunder Punch and relying on Dugtrio's Sandstorm, I defeated it without any problems. His next Pokemon would be his famous Sharpedo. It scared me quite a bit since I have 5 Ground-type Pokemon, and they are probably all slower than that Sharpedo. So I had to bring out my Mega Mewtwo X, who with Drain Punch was able to feint it with a single attack. His next Pokemon would be the previously mentioned Mightyena, which cost me, but I managed to defeat it with Rhyperior. His next Pokemon was Mook, who with Ice Punch ended up defeating my Rhyperior. I sent out Nidoking and managed to get rid of that Mook without any issues with a couple of Earthquakes. His last Pokemon was Kyogre, which set up Drizzle upon appearing. I had Nidoking on the field, and it was clear that it would fall from a single attack. With a Hydro Pump, Kyogre defeated Nidoking, and I brought out Nidoqueen, hoping for the Hydro Pump to miss, so I could scratch some damage and make it easier for Mewtwo, but I had no luck. Without any mercy, Kyogre killed my Nidoqueen with another Hydro Pump. I only had Mewtwo left, and it was the moment of truth. But after holding on like a champion, Mega Mewtwo X ended up defeating it with a second Drain Punch. The next villain leader was Cyrus, who sent out Houndoom first. Again, I started with the strategy of using Dugtrio to muck up a bit. I used Stealth Rock, and after withstanding a Dark Pulse, I ended up defeating that hot dog with an Earthquake. Earthquake. His next Pokemon was Honchkrow, and I took the chance to switch to Rhyperior, who with a Stone Edge sent it to the bird graveyard, where I have a special discount for recurring customers. I faced the next Pokemon, Weavile, which was a tough nut to crack as I suspected its speed surpassed any of my Pokemon. After missing a Stone Edge with Rhyperior, Weavile defeated it with a Night Slash. Dugtrio ran the same fate with an Ice Punch without any chance to do anything, as indeed Weavile was faster. After putting me in check, I had no choice but to use my magic wild card. Mewtwo X entered the scene, and after receiving a measly quick attack, ended up defeating Weavile with a Drain Punch. I faced his fourth Pokemon, Crobat, and here I was a bit in trouble as I had no Pokemon left with any rock-type move. I decided to send out Nidoking. That Crobat missed 2 attacks in a row. I had luck on my side, but finally Crobat defeated Nidoking with a couple of Zen Headbutts. I sent out Mewtwo thinking that I could finish it off, but that Crobat was faster, and with a Super Fang it left me halfway through life before defeating it, putting Mewtwo in trouble with less than half of its hit points against his last Pokemon, the strongest one. This was Dialga. I was in trouble. In desperation, I sent out Nidoqueen to try to scrape off some life, and she did. Nidoqueen held on like a good tank and managed to take down some of Dialga's life. I only had Mewtwo left, and against all odds, it ended up defeating Dialga with a Drain Punch. I won in an epic way, and with this, I put an end to Cyrus's dreams. I reached the 4th member of the villain team, Lysandre, who greeted me with his Mienshao. As was now customary, I sent out Dugtrio first to set the rocks, but this time things would change. I took a tremendous hit that completely messed up my strategy. After this, I had to put all my cards on the table and send out Mewtwo, who with its Mega Evolution and a Zen Headbutt, ended up defeating Mienshao. His next Pokemon was Honchkrow, which I thought would be no match for my Rhyperior and his Stone Edge, but without even being able to use an attack, that infernal bird with a bit of hacks and making me flinch, annihilated my Stone Giant with just 2 Dark Pulses. I forgot that Rhyperior doesn't have any special defense. Then I sent out Nidoking, who could withstand a couple of Dark Pulses, but still was no match for that Honchkrow. Another Pokemon fell. Things were looking bad. I once again brought out the heavy artillery, and thanks to the speed of my Mega Mewtwo X, I was able to defeat that Honchkrow without suffering damage. The third Pokemon was Gyarados, who already intimidated me with its ability upon entering, and to make matters worse, it turned out that Lysandre had its Mega Stone. Even so, Mega Gyarados was no match for Mewtwo's Drain Punch, and when cornered, Lysandre decided to switch Pokemon, bringing out his Pyroar. Bad strategy on his part as I ended up defeating it with Earthquake. Mega Gyarados returned to the battlefield, and this time it did fall. I was just 1 Pokemon away from victory. Their next Pokemon was going to be Xerneas, and I was in big trouble because my Mewtwo would probably die from a single Fairy-type attack. I decided to switch to Nidoqueen and scrape a few damage points. It was my only chance. Nidoqueen was able to land a blow and left that Xerneas just over half life, but still things looked bad. I had nothing that could eliminate it in a single attack, so I went desperate. My only chance was to throw a Zen Headbutt and hope it flinched. And it happened! Against all odds, Xerneas flinched, and I was able to finish it off with Earthquake. This end of combat almost gave me a damn heart attack. And so I reached the final battle, and there is no one better than Getsis to end in the most epic way. His first Pokemon was Cofagrigus, to whom I welcomed, of course, with my Dugtrio and its Stealth Rock and Sandstorm, and even though it fainted, it did its job wonderfully. Then it was Nidoking's turn, who took care of sentencing that Cofagrigus without much complication. We were 1-1, and his next Pokemon would be Hydreigon, but still, I had the Stealth Rock and Sandstorm play. I was optimistic. I pulled out Rhyperior, and he killed me with a totally unexpected Surf. I decided to send Mewtwo, who ended up wiping out that 3-headed dragon with just 1 Drain Punch. Likewise, Bouffalant fainted with another Drain Punch. I was on a roll. His next Pokemon would be B-Sharp, and again it only lasted 1 attack. I had completely turned the situation around. But Getchis sent out Zekrom, and again I was going to have a very hard time finishing him off. With only Mewtwo, I had to scrape life before with the other Pokemon. I sent Nidoking, but a Zen Headbutt defeated Nidoking without hesitation. Fortunately, he was poisoned with Toxic Point. I took out Nidoqueen, and although she could resist it, she flinched and ran with the same fate as Nidoking. Blessed Toxic Point that could scrape almost half of Zekrom's life. All I had left was Mewtwo, and taking advantage of the poison and the speed it has, I ended up crushing that Zekrom with an Earthquake. Thus, it is documented that Giovanni can beat all the leaders of each villain team from each generation. Of course, Mewtwo becomes the true hero of the story. In addition, it should be mentioned that during the challenge, conversations with the characters indicated that this was the origin of Team Rainbow from Pokemon Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon. I really loved this detail. This challenge has been incredible, but you should know that the next challenge I did was possibly the hardest and most epic of all. You'll have it next next Saturday. With all that said, I want to thank all subscribers and YouTube members. Thanks to you, it's a little easier for me to dedicate time to this. I remember that I'm looking at the comments to get ideas for the next challenges, so if you can think of a good one, don't hesitate to comment. If you made it this far, leave. I would appreciate so much your like. You can also subscribe to the channel to help me keep growing, and if you want to see more videos from this section, you have the list on screen next to other videos. See you there.